Hey leaders, it's your West Covina DM here, Mario, with the new leadership law, the law of influence. The bottom line with this leadership law is leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. We've learned through the law of influence over the last couple of decades that leadership has nothing to do with position, power, stature, or a person's title. In fact, position is the lowest level of leadership. True leadership cannot be awarded, appointed, or assigned. It can only come from developing influence, and that cannot be mandated. There are 5 influence myths which many are susceptible to in the development of leadership. Some of these may register with you. The management myth is a long misunderstanding that leading and managing are one and the same. Leadership is about influencing people to follow, while management focuses on maintaining systems and processes. To create positive change and move people in a new direction, a leader needs influence. The entrepreneur myth assumes that all entrepreneurs are leaders, and that's not always the case. Entrepreneurs are skilled at seeing, meeting the need, and making a profit, but there is a people part of that equation that demands influence to connect and lead in the process. The knowledge myth assumes if one possesses knowledge and intelligence, they are therefore leaders, but neither IQ nor knowledge equate to leadership. The pioneer myth is the misconception that anyone out in front of the crowd is a leader. However, being first isn't always synonymous with leading. You might have heard it said, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. The latter requires influence, and a leader must have people who follow. The position myth is thinking leadership is based primarily on position. It's not. If you've ever refused to follow a bad boss, or if you've been appointed to a position and people didn't readily follow you, you know that title doesn't make you a leader. Position and title only give one an opportunity to increase your level of influence with others or to undermine it. It's not the position that makes the leader, it's the leader that makes the position. The true measure of leadership is influence, and there are several factors that determine a person's level of influence. Character, who you are. People can sense the depth of a person's character. Leadership always begins with the inner person. The greater the depth of character, the greater the influence potential. Relationships, who you know. A leader must have followers, and that always requires relationships. The stronger the relationships, the greater the potential for leadership. Strong relationships always start with the value we place on people. Knowledge, what you know. Information is vital to a leader. Knowledge alone won't make someone a leader, but without knowledge, no one can become one. Increase your knowledge wherever you lead from. Intuition, what you feel. Great leaders recognize and influence the intangibles like energy, morale, timing, and momentum. Experience, where you've been. Experience doesn't guarantee credibility, but it encourages people to give you the opportunity to prove that you are capable. Past experience or past success, what you've done. Nothing speaks to followers like a good track record. Every time a leader extends themselves, takes a risk, and succeeds, they provide followers with another reason to trust them. Ability, what you can do. At the end of the day, people want to know whether a leader can lead them or their team to victory. If Kobe Bryant and I were captains of our own basketball teams, you would naturally want to be on Kobe's team over mine because of one factor, ability. Allow me to connect with you now on this law of leadership from where we lead. How significant is the law of influence? Who doesn't want to become a person of influence? People often confuse popularity with influence, but they're not the same. Like many of you, I don't necessarily care for the limelight, but I do desire to speak to a person's heart. I want to be impactful. We're a public-facing agency, and people are our business. It's one of the primary reasons I love working for this agency. Specifically, in our leadership roles, it's incumbent upon us not only to serve the public, but to do it while we bring teams together. That kind of leadership requires influence. There are 3 ways to increase our level of influence. 1 is to value people. 2 is to gain respect. And 3 is to exceed expectations. The greatest way to increase our influence is through the value we place on people. Nothing ignites the core of someone's potential quicker than a leader who values his or her people. In my own personal and professional experience, I've always been inspired the greatest by those leaders who have expressed a genuine concern for my success. That has looked different on many occasions. I've had encouraging leadership experiences where leaders have walked me into new seasons in my career with a pat on the back. I've also had more difficult leadership experiences where leaders have started conversations with, Mario, it's not always about you. Ouch. Nevertheless, what's always moved me to develop and grow was that I knew those leaders valued me as an individual. I want to challenge us today when we look at the teams we lead to see the value in every one of them individually. 3 questions I know people will always consider of a leader are, does this person care for me? Can this person help me? And can I trust this person? How about gaining respect? I've worked for the agency for over 20 years now. I've experienced some rough seasons in my journey to where I'm at today. No regrets, most of my experiences have been rewarding. Here's what I've learned. Respect is gained on hard ground. And let me be transparent. I've worked with some colleagues and leaders who weren't always the easiest to work with. I've learned early on to make these teaching moments out of those experiences. I've always did my best to block out the bad and harvest the good and add value wherever I've been called to in that season. Navigating the waters in different environments and seasons while making a solid contribution has always served me right. How do we exceed expectations? I believe that's an important question to ask. Just think about the different areas of life that question can apply to. To an extent, I think we do that naturally as we show a genuine value for people and we remain consistent, especially through difficult times. But I've learned the best way to exceed expectations is to connect with people directly and learn what their expectations of us are. See, if we know what someone's clear expectations are of us, then we can potentially make their ceiling of expectations our walking ground. And we can exceed expectations and gain influence every time. I want to challenge you today and myself to gather with your leadership teams and discuss the following question. What will you do intentionally to increase your influence right now in this season? Until next time, leaders, lead well.